got it. You got it. There you go. Don't come out of the water. Keep playing. Keep playing. Don't come out of the water. Welcome everyone back to Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. I'm Greg Hill. I'm your host here at Fishing Show today. This will be the fishing report ending on April the 9th. By the way, happy Easter. And you know, look, it's been since my last report, it's just been a bunch of great fishing. You know, we had some cold weather, had a couple cold days, you know, we had some great days in between, and all the entire way I've been able to do bed fishing this entire time. Some days were better than others for numbers, and some days were better for size, but you know, it's just been another great week. I had a client just yesterday that, you know, look, I didn't think it was that great a day. We only caught about 12 fish, but you know, the biggest just over probably like 4, it's around 4. But you know, you realize that we're out fishing with other people, and you're seeing what's going on. Like, man, we caught great fish, we had a great time. But I mean, I hope they get bigger fish all the time, but we just didn't run across them. And I'll get to why I think some of that happened. But you know, just to give you a quick rundown. So the water temperatures right now are sitting anywhere between, I'm sitting in 64-degree water right now at, you know, 8:30 in the morning, and then it'll get warmer as the day warms up. And then some other water I've been in as high as 67, 68 degrees. So it's really stabilizing for these warm temperatures overnight. Because of the moon cycle, we're having a lot more new fish move up on bed. And there's just more and more fish on bed right now. We've had a wave, I think, complete now, and there's probably some pushing out for that post spawn type fishing, and I'll get to that also. But that's kind of what we're seeing for water temperatures. The water level is really staying really level right now, really stable right now. We're just about a foot low. We're a little bit more than a foot low right now for normal pool. It's at just a 1.1 feet low right now. So it's really nice. It's really stable for the fish to be able to come in here and have a good spawn. You know, we had a little bit of rain a couple days ago, and it just barely moved the lake level a little bit. So the fish are having, I think, a really great spawn right now. They've got grass to get into. You can see I'm sitting in a little pocket. And you know, anyone who's been out here on the lake, you'll see that we've had this really weird weed that has grown up. I'm not sure what it's called, but we've never had it before, and I hadn't seen it here before. It's all dying off now because it's the kind of stuff that was growing when the lake was really low, and now it's in the water, and it's not aquatic. It's not an aquatic weed or grass, but it's dying off. But the fish are getting into it because it's acting in some places as a block for any kind of dingy water. You'll see this kind of grass I'm looking at, or this dead weed that's there. It's acting as a buffer between some of the dingy water, and then back behind that there'll be clear water. So, but anyway, that's kind of what's going on with the water and just the stability of everything. So, you know, look, it's just been a lot of fun fishing. I just caught a fish right before I started fishing this. I pulled up just to take a couple videos, and you know, I'd turn around and there's a fish on bed, and it took me about 4 or 5 casts to catch that guy. It's just, you know, it's a lot of fun right now bed fishing. For the guys that come fishing with me, and for the people that come fishing with me, you'll know that I just love bed fishing. You know, I still have my pilot vision, and it's really great to see the fish interact with the lures and see how they're doing, and you know, kind of watch them go through this process of sometimes being real aggressive, and sometimes being neutral, and sometimes being negative, and maybe sometimes you can change that by different techniques and to get the fish to bite. So anyway, I'll get into the report now. So you know, I think no big surprise. I'm still throwing a creature bait, you know, that I normally throw, and I've got one of them here, but you know, I'll just show you on there. You can kind of see it, you know, what it is. But again, I don't really say what the brand is, but I mean, I'm throwing in the color that's got some purple on it, some blue fleck on it, and it's kind of a pumpkin green on the other side, so it's kind of dual colors. I think that works out, because you know, some of the water I throw in, I have to keep changing baits, is more clear, some is just a little more dingy, and this bait has a like that deeper purple on one side, and then on the other side it's got the green like the pumpkin seed, and it really works. It works well, because you know, hey, the bait's always, you never know which side it's going to go on, and when it comes up and flutters down, they see both sides of it. That dark side is probably easier for them to see when the water just has a little greenish color to it, and then the green side, of course, is you know, just perfect for the more clear water. So it's been working real well. Flipping that in the beds, and I'm going to have another video I'll attach, not to the end of this video, but a separate one you guys can watch. Just the technique that I was using, just a real quick review of the technique that I'm doing. There's a technique you can use to fish through this really thick grass that you might want to think about if you come out here, because normally when you're moving down the bank and you're throwing, that really, it won't work a lot with this grass. You'll get snagged up in it a lot because of the lateral movement. So I talked about in that video how you have to kind of maintain a line. You cast straight to the end and bring it right back, and then move your aim point and then bring it back. If you're doing that and you got these Texas rig creature baits, you can come right through this. You can come, or you know, other than any other Texas rig, you can come right through this grass. You can come right through this thick stuff, and you won't get hung up very much. But if you're moving laterally, it's going to start getting wrapped around all these things, and it gets pretty difficult to do that. So, you know, again, creature baits, working them in the beds, working them in the vicinity of the beds. We did catch a female the other day that we just, you know, didn't even know she was there. We're throwing at the male, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a bigger fish, and you get the female that way. Chatterbaits, you know, good search baits around those areas too. I'm throwing them in this kind of, you know, the greenish colors, kind of imitating a bluegill. I've also got one, if the water gets a little dingier, I've got, you know, like a darker, like a black and blue, you know, color with it. I'm still throwing in the mornings frogs. So the frog bite, had a bunch of frog bites, but honestly, we didn't land a single one of them. The hookup ratio was 0% on the frog bite the other day. And I don't know whether, we had one that was pretty big size, it looked like. Maybe there's some smaller bass trying to get these frogs into their mouth and they can't do it, you know, I don't know. But I mean, the size of frog I was throwing should have any kind of problem. Get it. So, but I've always said that with my clients, you know, it's hard to do a frog bite for some people, because they usually, you know, get the strike, you know, to set the hook too soon. You kind of have to let the fish get it down in its mouth. It's like a 2 potato, 3 potato, and then give a hook set. So I think maybe we're having some early hook sets too, but we had a good number of bites on it. We just couldn't get a fish in the boat. And then, of course, I talked about this before too, if I'm throwing those creature baits, if I get to a larger fish especially, and they don't seem to be reacting to, or not reacting the way I want them quick enough to the creature bait, they might not think it's a big enough threat to their nest. So that's when I'll start throwing, you know, a bigger jig. And I usually deck it out in the crawfish, I mean in a bluegill colors is what I've been doing. And, you know, kind of working it through there, you know, you can just, it's just a rage call trailer, it's on there. And you see this one's kind of torn up because we've been catching fish with it. Try throwing that big jig in there, and then try to see if that changes their attitude. And you might not end up catching it on that jig, but you might end up changing the attitude of the fish, so then it could pick up the other bait. So it's, you know, kind of I mean, you're really just setting the fish up. It's kind of like, you know, baseball, you're setting a guy up for that curveball maybe, you know, you throw certain pitches and then you set them up for this other pitch. And the same thing, we're taking the fish and we're throwing different lures to set them up for the catch, right? And it doesn't really matter what lure we catch them on, but sometimes you get their attitude. They might get more aggressive, and next thing you know, they'll pick the other one up. So you have to kind of experiment a little bit. Be sure to watch that video that I'm putting out for, you know, like technique that I use, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. And then, of course, you know, a big swim bait. You know, this is Lake Fork Trophy lures. You know, again, I don't get any kickbacks from Lake Fork Trophy lures, but I still tell you that I'm fishing with their stuff, because they do a great work with a nonprofit called Folds of Honor, and they donate a portion of this of their sales to that. Just make sure I'll put in a message what the link is to it. Just I'll have to go back and make sure it's still the same. But, you know, they donate a certain percentage of your purchase to a nonprofit that I support, which is the Folds of Honor, and they support Gold Star families, members for the military. So, you know, people that have lost a family member. So, hey, there's one thing I do want to talk about, because it kind of came up during one of my trips this last, since my last report, and that is rattle or glass bead or no glass bead pitching to the beds. So I'll tell you where, I mean, I'm not saying I'm right all the time, but I'm go with the no glass bead. So, and I say that because I've just caught a ton of fish without it, and I've used it before, and I've used other baits that have too much noise out there. Lake Fork fish get a lot of pressure. Maybe it doesn't make a difference. Maybe it does. I throw my baits without the glass bead, you know, knocking and making the noise. And I just caught this fish right here with about 5 casts, you know, with no glass bead. So I just say that because I have a very good customer, you know, and he's got the glass bead on there, and you know, hey, I think it does well. I'm like, hey, let's throw it then, because you know, who knows? I mean, it may make a difference. And if you're in water that is more dingy, maybe. But I just was fishing in water yesterday. We could barely see the fish, and we caught the fish just fine without the glass bead. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what the real answer is. I'm just letting you know what I consider. You know, sound in the fish. I mean, they have a lateral line that if you're moving that bait in there, they're gonna feel that lateral line. They're gonna feel it, and you'll know it right away when you see it, because when that bait gets near the nest, let's say you casting past it and you're bringing the lure back this way from the top all the way towards you, what'll happen as you get closer to the nest and the bait, the bass either sees it or feels it, you'll see his attitude change, and he'll turn towards the bait. And as you're coming through the nest, the fish's attitude will change to keep looking at the lure. Now, if you're doing the right thing, it'll approach and get closer and go to it. If you're too far away, meaning that, hey, he's not going to go outside that 4 to 6 inch circle a lot of times, so you're too far away, and it's just going to watch it. And it's going to watch it exit the bait. It's going to look at it, and then it'll kind of go back to where it was probably. You can know what the fish is doing without seeing your bait. And that brings up another thing. If you're out there, in my opinion, throwing a bunch of, you know, white and chartreuse and really those kind of colors, look, they're great for you to see, and it makes it easier for you to see. So if you need to do that, by all means, do it. But I think I catch more fish because I use more natural colors. Now I have good eyesight still, so I can still see it. But just another thing to consider. You know, the baits you're throwing, the splash you're making, the distance you're away from those fish, it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. And I just, with some clients the other day, watched somebody try to fish a fish for quite a while. And you know what? They left, and we had been fishing for some other fish. I said, let's go over and catch those fish, because they didn't catch those fish. And we went over there and caught the fish. So, you know, but we were a little further back. I'm pitching with them, helping out with a pitch for a no splash, and we're using more natural colors. Maybe that was a difference. Maybe it's a combination of what they were doing compared to what we were doing was different. So, you know, look, if you're going to take the time to go out here and focus on a fish and you do it, make sure you're doing everything you can to, you know, have the highest probability of success for that fish. So, okay, then the other thing is, because the customer asked me a little bit, they said, hey, Greg, I noticed you use a lot of red hooks. These are red EWGs and red weights. You know, of course, these are tungstens, but I do use the red ones. So during the spawn, for sure, I throw in some of these red hooks, and for sure I use the red weight. And the reason I do is that you guys have heard my stuff before. Look, bass there are two colors they primarily see are green and red. That's the receptors they have. Now, see the combinations of those together, but a red, something, you know, red like this, it's gonna, if everything's green down there and they're gonna see this, it's gonna poke out. It's red. It's gonna poke out towards them. So I do it. Again, I use a lighter wire. You You know, some of these creature baits, it doesn't make the bait fall down as much. It's lighter, so I think I hope it stands up a little bit more. But you know, look, if I see a big fish, I just say that if we see a big fish, like I know for sure, I'm seeing it's like a big female, 8, 9, 10 pounds. I'm gonna go back to a thicker hook than that lighter, you know, wire, you know, hook that I'll throw. And that's why I have a couple reels set up with pretty much the same lure on them, with a little different weight and a different hook on it. I can kind of target my gear on what that fish is really like. If you got this big fish, I need a more stout hook than that lighter wire. I mean, I'm sorry, but these lighter wire ones, you get a big fish, it could bend those or break them, and I've seen it happen. So I go to the heavier hook for that. Let's see, any kind of funny stories from, I think any stories from this last week? Well, you know, one of the times when the weather was really crappy, we had a customer come down from Chicago, and you know, look, he's used to the cold. I'm not. I got 5 layers of stuff on. It's really cold. That cold front came through. It's raining, you know, and we're getting wet all day long, but we had the right gear to do that. So we were, you know, out in the rain and out in the cold fishing, and man, we got to a place where we couldn't see any of the beds. We couldn't see them until we got about 6 or 7 feet away from them, because we didn't have the light, didn't have everything, but there were a lot of them there, and we were just throwing out these creature baits, dragging through, and it's like boonk, boonk, boonk. We got a lot of fish that day. They weren't big. I mean, they were a bunch of males, but we were still catching fish in really, really hard conditions. So I was pretty happy with that. I would have loved to have found a couple bigger fish, but you know, we were just, you know, the biggest one just over 4 again that day. I mean, we caught, you know, we caught 20 fish. So, I mean, which was, I think, pretty good for those conditions in the day. We were almost the only, I mean, I only saw a couple boats on the water that day. So we earned those fish that day. We stuck it out and earned it that day. So I was pretty happy about that day, that we could go out and find some fish like that. And then the other thing is, look, if you're going here fishing, you're going to come to Lake Fork, and you're going to spend the money, time, effort to get here, make sure your gear is set up for you to succeed, okay? Make sure you have good line. Make sure you check your drag. Make sure you're got the right line for your, you know, what you're doing. If you're throwing in these beds a lot, I recommend you use at least a fluorocarbon. You could use you can use a mono, but it's just going to have too much. It's going to have too much stretch. And of course, braid is great. If it's a super clear water, I would have a thinner one. I wouldn't have like a big 50 pound on there, and go with a 30 or something like that, you know, a braid. Something they're really going to have a hard time seeing. All this weed that we're in is pretty gunked up. I haven't had any problem. I've got 20 pound fluorocarbon on one that I'm flipping in, and it's been working great. But I can see where maybe a braid could work there. Just bass it right there. Braid could do well in these scenarios. And I have braid I throw on some, but just that's not what I do most of the time. I'm mostly going with a fluorocarbon. And then look, you know, if you're throwing Senkos and things that are kind of, you need some float out, you know, try the mono on it. So, you know, take the time to do this, because if you come out here and you miss the fish, I had a customer who missed, you know, probably the biggest fish, well, it would have been the bigger fish he's ever caught. And it wasn't the gears problem, because we were using mine. That's the second point, is hook sets. You know, look, if you're coming out here to set the hook into a big fish, you have to have your gear set up properly so that you can literally just set that hook as hard as you can, and it's gonna set, it's gonna point it, and you might get just a little slip of the line right where it's supposed to, right? That you got to get that hook set. You got to drive that hook. You got to drive that hook through that barb and into the cartilage. I mean, cartilage is tough. You got to go into that cartilage in the mouth, or you end up with a fish that you just, you know, in this case, it got off. And I think my customer was, he was kind of sick to his stomach, you know, for a while, and he had a hard time. I think he was thinking about it a lot, you know, during that day after it happened. So it happens to everybody out here. I tell my clients all the time, look, yeah, there's a couple of noise you hear people out here. I heard a gentleman, this is like a week and a half ago. I heard him go into a maybe a minute long running tirade of curse words. And I didn't see him because they were around a point, but I could hear them, and they obviously just must have missed this, you know, a huge fish. Or you hear the people like, yeah, woo, woo, high-fiving and stuff, because they just caught their fish. So that's the person you want to be. You don't want to be the guy doing the minute-long curse. Now, I will tell you, that guy has some talent. I mean, if I had a tape recording on that, and I mean, maybe I couldn't put it because it's, the language was too bad, but man, he had some talent. That guy had taken some lessons on how to really, maybe he spent a lot of time in the Marines, I don't know, but it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny to listen to. But I'm trying to think of anything else, for the report, honestly. But I think, yeah. So topwater bite, starting to get a topwater bite for me, at least on Zara Spooks. The shad are definitely getting on some of the points right now. I haven't caught as many. I saw a ton of shad. I went to 3 or 4 different points. There was shad on every one of them, but there's those 3 or 4 points that day, we didn't catch any bass. So, I mean, we're there. The shad are there, but the bass weren't biting, and we threw topwater, and we threw chatterbait, and we threw a crankbait at them, just kind of all through the whole area, swim bait at them, and didn't get anything. And I wasn't seeing anything on my side imaging or my Garmin. I could see the shad moving around up there. And they're definitely in the gizzard, because you can see that, they're larger shad, so it's not thread fins that you see as a big group. These are, larger shad. Not the really big ones yet, so I don't think that, I haven't seen it where the, like the big gizzard shad are in there yet, but the smaller fish are in there, the smaller shad are in there right now. So, I mean, we'll see. I think it's happening. I think it's starting to happen, but I think we have to we're going to get into this big push right now where there's a lot more fish moving on bed right now, so they might be intercepting them as they're going in. And there's probably some post-spawn fish already starting to come out, and they should hopefully intersect right where that shad spawn is and turn into some really great fishing. So, hey, jerk baits in shad colors, crankbaits and shad colors, topwater baits and shad colors, all kinds of topwaters you could be throwing, but whatever your choice is. I throw Zara Spooks more than most things, but the bone colors, the shad colors, mix it up a little bit and see what kind of works. But I think the action on the lure is probably more important than the color myself. But some people have their favorites, and again, I kind of favor the more realistic shad color, it seems, for me to get my bites. But anyway, look, that's going to be it from the report. I'm just looking at, and then I would say this. So I will tell you that I've got these new rods from Temple Fork Outfitters. They are specially made for throwing big swim baits. Now, this isn't the biggest swim bait you can throw with these, but this is the Mag. It's a Tactical Elite Bass. It's a Magnum X Heavy. It's 8 foot long. It throws 2 to 8 ounce baits. Now, this rod, and it's just a great rod, is $200. So that is a lot less than how much I've heard some of my friends have paid for some of these other big swim baits or glide bait rods. So, I'm sponsored by Temple Fork Outfitters. Every single rod on this boat is a Temple Fork Outfitters. Man, I stutter. I need to get back in and get something to drink in my mouth. My mouth is dry. But every one of my rods is a Temple Fork Outfitters rod. And look, it is just I have great success with them. It's a great company, and I really appreciate their support of me. Every one of my reels is a Quantum Smoke S3. I love the Quantum products, and it's just I had just a great time fishing this year. And these products have supported me, and the companies have supported me, and the products have performed for me, and I recommend them completely. It's a great price point. It's a great price point for a great rod. Every one of my rod and reel setups are right about $400. So, I mean, I think it's a great setup. And of course, I can't say enough about my Skeeter FXR 21 from Diamond Sports Outfitters in Yandis, Texas. Be sure to give them a call over there at Diamond Sports if you're out here looking for a boat. I love my Skeeter. It's a great boat. Matter of fact, somebody my clients just yesterday had another one of these newer boats that's out, and it's a pretty expensive boat. And he spent a lot of money on it, and he spent more than my Skeeter cost. I know, because I asked him, and he said, I said, well, what ride do you like better? And he said, I like your ride better. So, and I've always liked the Skeeter ride, so I don't really have it. I can't compare the other guy's boat, but he said he liked my ride on the Skeeter better. So, look, that's going to be it. And I just want to say thank you to everybody out here that's sending my messages. Be sure to try to go to my Facebook page, Instagram. I got a big gar, like a 10-pound gar right there. Be sure to go there and YouTube, subscribe to all that. I'm going to be giving away some Quantum and Temple Fork Outfitter rods, and I'm trying to get as many people on to have the opportunity to get them. So please reach down there and push that subscribe button so you can catch my other videos. And look, I look forward to talking to you guys. Send me messages. And if you're looking for a fishing trip, please give me a call. I have some dates open. I'll post them in the notes of this report. But in April, I have just a few dates open. But be sure to give me a call if you want to get out here. I think we got some great fishing coming up. The bedfish is going to get even better, I think. So I'm Greg Hill from Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. You guys have a great day. Remember, our motto is leave no fish behind. People crappie fishing. There's a female. There, that's the male. Yep. There you go. Now give it a throw in there, see if that female will hit while we're out. There you go. Not a big one. There you go. He's gonna dig it out of that grass. See, he's going back there? Yeah. So they may have spawned right up against that grass. Oh, she just charged it. Yeah. Yep, make it move or something. She won't hit it when it's sitting still. She's chasing it. Yeah. Let's just pull it out of there. She's on it, she's on it. Get down there, you mother. I knew she was swimming with it. She was chasing it. Give her something to slack. Oh, look. You got like 8 inches of slack. I couldn't help it. She was coming to me. Boom, she's on there. Oh, I just saw him flare. He's got it. I had to get some footing here. Stepping on that paddle. I felt it moving. No, I got him. I got him. He's just a little man about it. Oh, I'm gonna let him drag it. Oh. There we go. There we go. There we go. Let me see. What do I got to shut up? You shut his tail, the line. Yeah, you know, I couldn't. Here he goes. See, when you're rattling, that really slight. Here he goes. Here he comes. He went around it. But he's still right there. He's still looking at it. He's still looking at it. Oh, he's still on it. Do you know what's happening? When he got that little rattle, it's just slowly floating across the bottom. There you go. Now he's over to the right more. Let him turn. Yeah. Here he comes. Somebody else is chasing some shad over there. Here he comes. Get him, get him, get him! There you go. Look, keep fighting him. Watch it, watch the power pole. I got him. There you go. Bring him up over here. I got it. Get him. I got it. I got it. You've done a decent man. No! Got him in the boat. Here, grab that. I had your strike on video. All right, man. It's about the same as that other. Yeah. Oh, you got the female. You got the female. I picked up on it. It was heavy. I picked up on it. I go. Yeah. Is that the female? Yeah, that's the female. I think. No, that's the male. You got it. There you go. There you go. Yep. Go home, baby. Go home. That's open. Tip it a couple times.
like those new hooks, but
You like it?
I mean, I've hooked them all deep, and you know, and I'm not using braid or nothing. So.
Oh, because he's got. Oh, here he comes. Oh, he's got it. He's got it. There you go.
Oh,
pull this one. Oh, it's a good one. Don't pull him out of the water. Keep playing. Keep playing. Don't pull him out of the water. Play him sideways.
Single thing to do, I'd have been fucked, right?
Nah, you would have got him, but it's just getting that. It's just seeing how the attitude. You saw how aggressive he was getting.
Yeah, he was really coming after him.
I knew that he was going to hit it.
Yeah.
Just a matter of keeping it in that place long enough that he would just pick it up.
Right.
So he's a fat fish. Yeah. Picture that one.
Bring him back here.
That's a nice one.
Oh, I'll never see it. You won't send it to me.
He's got it. He's got it. He's got it. He's got it. So look.
Oh, that's a good fish. Yay, fattener.
Okay, we're gonna drink some hot tea. Oh yeah, keep dragging, skin. Oh, got him.
I'm a believer in that bait.
There you go, way to go, man.